Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. I'm Dustin. This is your waiver wire show for heading into week 3. Let's get right into it, and let's start with the must-adds, and we start with Eddie Royal. We talked about him last week, only owned in 75% of leagues. He had another monster game week 2. Time for this guy to be pretty much universally owned. Get him on your team. Next, Mark Clayton out there with the Rams. I was not ready to buy in on the Clayton hype after one good game with a rookie quarterback, but it looks like he could have some value out there. Only owned in 55% of leagues. We like him as a pickup heading into week 3. Next, Demaryius Thomas, a rookie out there with Denver, only owned in 35% of leagues. Week 2 was his first game. He didn't play week 1. He looks like he was the real deal. Big game. We're not super high on rookie receivers, but when we're talking about just picking them up off the waiver wire, we think they're good gambles. So go ahead and try to get Thomas on your team, but don't use a crazy good waiver number on him. Moving on, we got one running back for you, and Tim Hightower, only owned in 75% of leagues. There's no guarantee that Beanie Wells gets the majority of the carries when he comes back. Hightower has especially added value in PPR leagues. We think it's going to be pretty much a 50-50 split out there, so go ahead and get Hightower on your team if he's available. All right, let's take a look at some guys to add in deeper leagues, and we start with Donald Brown. Only owned in 40% of leagues. He's creeping in on some Adai carries, and if Adai goes down, Brown is going to be a stud. We like Brown. It's just putting him on your bench and just seeing what happens. Next, let's talk about the mess out there in Buffalo. Marshawn Lynch only owned 20% of leagues. Fred Jackson only owned in about 50. CJ Spiller pretty much non-factor week 2. Who knows who's going to come out there and have the most value out with the Bills? I don't even know if the coaching staff knows who's going to have the most value in Buffalo. But if you have room for either of these two guys on your team, you might just want to pick them up and stash them and just see what happens. Moving on, we got Jason Snelling, only on 30% of leagues. Looks like Turner's okay, but whenever a backup comes in and is that impressive, you want to at least get this guy on your team as a handcuff if you have Turner, or if you're just looking for some depth. He could be a nice guy to pick up since Turner can't seem to stay healthy. Let's move into some receivers that are must-adds in deeper leagues. And Mario Manningham, I know he's the number 3 option out there, but 2 straight solid games. They're finding ways to get him involved. Same with Kevin Walter with Houston. Two games, 2 touchdowns, monster game against the Redskins. On that high-powered offense out there with the Texans, Walter is going to have some big games. Next, we got a tight end in Dustin Keller. I was really high on Keller coming into the year. He had a tough week 1, but blew up week 2. I think he is going to be somewhat inconsistent, but he's going to have some monster games, and I still think he could very easily be a top 10 tight end this year. Next, we got a quarterback for you in Kyle Orton. A lot of people wrote him off coming into the year. We weren't completely writing him off, but it's his job to lose, and he has done nothing to lose that job. He's played well. We think he's going to be there for the rest of the year unless he really blows it. And he has more weapons than people think, especially with the rookie and with Eddie Royal looking like he could be back to his old self. We like Kyle Orton as an ad. It's just maybe for your backup quarterback or in 2 quarterback leagues must add for Kyle Orton. And I got to pick up and play for you for the Redskins defense going up against the Rams week 3. I know they had a hard time against Houston, but I think they're going to be able to get to the rookie quarterback and force some mistakes from Bradford. Now let's take a look at some guys to keep an eye on in deeper leagues. I got a couple receivers for you. First one's Jordan Shipley, only on 10% of leagues. This guy looks like he could be the Wes Welker for the Bengals. He has a lot of catches so far this season. Someone to look at in PPR leagues. And another receiver is Louis Murphy out there with Oakland. It looks like Shillings is kind of recovering slowly from his injury, so Murphy's going to kind of be the guy out there for now. They got things going week 2. Oakland looked fairly decent, so Murphy's someone to definitely just keep an eye on. So this is just a portion of the week 3 waiver wire. See the full list, get onto our site, fantasysmacktalk.com. It'll be on the homepage later this week. Get into our forums. They've been really active. Thanks everyone for getting in there. Brent and I will be back later this week. I'll see you then.